You know, it's easy for us to judge people from the comfort of our living rooms, from the comfort of our armchairs. It's easy for us to especially look at police and the mistakes that they make in the heat of the moment during the course of their duty. A mistake was definitely made in the heat of the moment when it came to the shooting of Daunte Wright. But it wasn't malicious. We now know that. I said in the last video, we need to wait for more information to come out before we make any judgments. And I was right. It turns out that this wasn't just another typical shooting. This definitely wasn't a racist shooting, as Black Lives Matter would have you believe. It's not a systematic problem, as Black Lives Matter or the Democrats would have you believe. This was literally a moment where, in a high-pressure situation, the adrenaline was pumping and someone made a mistake. As you can see right here on Red State right now, initial reports from Minnesota police shooting, not good, may indicate cop mistook gun for taser. So here's what we now know when it came to Daunte Wright. Daunte Wright was wanted because he was in possession of an illegal firearm. That's what he had a warrant out for his arrest for. They pulled him over for a typical traffic stop, and then once they learned that he had a warrant, they tried to arrest him. During the arrest, he attempted to break away from the police officer and get into his vehicle. At that point in time, they were struggling to restrain him further. A second officer, the one with the body cam footage we now have, you can see that she pulls her gun and shouts, "Taser, taser, taser," before firing. She was completely shocked in that moment that she had fired her gun. She reaches for him, almost as if she's trying to save him. And as he drives away, she is completely shocked and declares, "Oh my God, I shot him." Or actually, she says something a little more on the cuss word side. I'm going to go ahead and show you the video now, and we can react to it. And keep in mind that this is graphic footage of someone getting shot. There's no blood or anything. You can hardly tell that he gets shot, but he is getting shot nonetheless. But I want to show you this because I want you to see what it's like in the heat of the moment. What happens whenever you have the adrenaline flowing and you're trying to make quick decisions. So here we go. As you can see, here's the body cam footage. You have Daunte Wright being restrained by the police officer. He's attempting to put the handcuffs on him. And in that moment, he starts to resist. The police officer says, "Don't do that." The other officer comes in, and there he goes. He's trying to get into the police car, or his car. They're trying to restrain him. She has now pulled her gun. All right, so what we have here, as you could see, she meant to reach for her taser. She thinks she's holding her taser. She shouts, "Taser, taser, taser," pulls the trigger, and a bullet is discharged into the guy. She, at that point in time, tries to reach him, almost like she's trying to save him. He drives away. Her gun leaves her hand, and she's shocked at this point. "Oh my God, I shot him." It's clearly not a case of racism. It's clearly not a case of systemic oppression. It is a complete and total mistake. Now, I want to remind everyone that when he was getting into his car, resisting the officer, trying to escape the officer, you don't know if they're trying to get into their car to reach for a firearm. And remember that he had a warrant for his arrest out for possession of an illegal firearm. You don't know if they're trying to reach in for a knife, or you don't even know if they're just trying to escape. Again, they were just trying to restrain him. They were trying to keep him from getting away or doing something deadlier, and a complete mistake was made. And it is tragic. It is tragic that it happened. It is tragic that he died. It is also tragic for the officer who is going to have to live with this for the rest of her life. I think her career as a police officer is likely not going to go well after this. She's definitely going to be a pariah. Her identity has not been released yet, but I can assume that it will in the near future. And when it does, she is going to be made a villain. It's hard to say what her future holds, but it's likely that personally, this is going to be something that haunts her for the rest of her life, which is very sad. It's very sad. But even the police department right now is ruling this as an accidental discharge. Brooklyn Center Chief Tim Gannon, as I watched the video and listened to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Daunte Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me that this was an accidental discharge. The question is now, is this going to matter to Black Lives Matter? Is this going to matter to the activists? Is this going to matter to the left? Is this going to matter to Democrats? Are they going to try to use this as a way to make it seem like police officers are evil, incompetent, untrained? My guess is yes. Remember that Black Lives Matter is not about Black lives. It is actually a reactionary group meant to put police officers, and thus our society, our system, on in the spotlight, in the hot seat, and point out all its flaws. I am guessing that this is not going to go away anytime soon. And the politics that are going to arise around this incident it's going to get nasty. It always does. It always does get nasty, which is a shame. It's a crying shame, because really what this boils down to is an officer who made a mistake, who probably needed more training. This department could definitely learn from this mistake and make sure that that their officers understand and practice continuously which side their taser is on. Now, typically, as this officer actually explains, the gun is on the dominant hand, the taser is on the non-dominant hand. This unnamed officer, reached with her dominant hand for a weapon. Likely in the moment, with adrenaline coursing through your veins, it's hard. It's hard to know. You kind of lose control a little bit, and you do things that you don't mean to. As far as we know, these officers might have thought that they were in a life or death situation. They very well might have been. And that's why you saw the reaction that you saw. That's why she reached for her gun her gun with her dominant hand when she meant to reach for her taser. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs, but that's just how it is. We can sit back and we can judge all day, but we weren't there. We weren't in the moment. We didn't have the fears that they had. We weren't having to deal with what they dealt with. And it's important to remember that going forward. But one thing is for certain. This was not malicious. This was not racist. This was not evil. It was clearly a mistake that was made in a moment where a lot was on the line. And that's really what it boils down to, folks. I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you're made aware when we upload new content. See you in the next video.